Hopefully y'all can hear me okay. Here in the whip. Um, yeah, I said it's on life support, and it is with the news of the Big Ten, what we've been seeing go down in the Pac-12. It's tough. It's tough. Where do we begin? I've been listening to a lot of college football pundits. People I respect, people in the media, people all over social media, and it's been I think we all share in our frustrations. I think we share in just trying to navigate through all this work that was put in to try to make this season happen from many different platforms, whether it was the players trying to, do everything that they were asked to do by their leadership, to from social distancing to protocols to everything. Um, you know, the schools, individual schools, because as you can see, I'm a Texas fan, and it's like everything I've heard has been grade A in terms of the testing, managing cases when guys came in and they had COVID, and now they've gone about it. The medical staff, and the investment that's been done, but it just hasn't seemed to be enough in terms of even trying to give this thing a go and to try to make it happen. And it's sad, regardless of what stance you're on or playing. I think many of us want to see them play. I think a lot of people want to see them play. It's not. I don't think that's necessarily the issue. I will get to agendas that are being had right now that I'm seeing, but even folks that are more conservative in terms of the virus of, hey, let's wait this thing out. Hey, let's try to push this thing back. A lot of people's their livelihood is college football. Vendors, people that make their money off this program. The sake of this channel, right? We my content is very, very heavily college football geared. I mean, yes, I have NFL, NBA, different platforms I talk about, but predominantly the thing I talk about is college football, and it's because I love this sport. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust this so I can see me well. I love this sport. I've always loved this sport, and to see the the sport get exposed, the leadership get exposed, because one of the things I've said for a while now on this channel, and I've uttered this over and over and over again, is the lack of transparency. And this is something that Joel Klatt alluded to a little bit in the video that he made on YouTube, which was a good, really, really good, measured, informed take that he had, I believe. And the lack of just like, hey, if you guys have access to certain data, medical, what have you, why not open up to at least the players, right? Like, why not open up to at least, they now you have people, school presidents I'm talking about now, hiding behind anonymous quotes and trying to leak stuff. And, we're hearing in the Big Ten, I think Iowa and Nebraska wanted to play and everybody else voted no. But, you have Ryan Day coming out from Ohio State. It's like, yo, we want to play. Like, what, and that's where hashtag we want to play, the players, Trevor Lawrence leading the movement, I'm with you, and it's just confusing. It's confusing because why come out with it's the timing of it for me. Because when things were looking grim about a month ago, and it was like, damn, like this is, when I say a month ago, I'm talking about when people were coming back, the cases seemed overwhelming. We're looking at the cost of testing, but like we're at the point now where all these things are practicing, like on a regular, but like people are holding, like Nebraska, I believe, was in practice right now. So I don't the timing of this, and it's gonna lead me to a bigger point because I really just want to participate and live off the chat with y'all. And if you're here right now, however many people are here, make sure you hit that like button and share it so we can just kind of come together and discuss a little bit, because it's perplexing, to say the least. It's perplexing. I'm gonna turn this AC on because it's Texas hot right now. Uh, why now is what I'm trying to wrap my mind around, because if one of the things I noticed with them being anonymous and trying to, move behind closed doors and all this stuff, that leads me to believe that you guys have an ulterior agenda and you're waiting for something like this to come, because I've alluded to realignment, and that's what I'm saying. College football as we know it, I believe, is just going to change. And I think this was the vehicle, this virus is the vehicle for them to basically burn down the system, burn down the structure, let it collapse, and let's rebuild this how we want to rebuild it, how we want this sport to look. And if the players are collateral damage, so be it. If the coaches are collateral damage, and look, I understand, some we're here or there with the coaches because they do make a lot of money, but we'll put them with the players for now. The fans, right? We're losers here because we get no product. And I know most fans, I'm not talking about the idiots and the message board on Twitter, I'm not talking about that. Most fans, I believe, do value player safety. Most fans do care about the well-being of these young men in general. And most fans, I think with what we've been informed with, believe that this is the safest environment for them to be in terms of being at school. And you're seeing a lot of players echo that statement throughout, social media. Now, I'm not saying you have to acquiesce to everything a player says. We dealt with this at Texas, right? With our own social demands after the protests and everything that was going on. And what we learned was how we handled it, because we have better leadership, and just is what it is. They negotiated and navigated that with the players, and then there ended up being transparency. You come and find middle ground. I don't see that here with the NCAA and the Power Five. When you have the Big Ten acting however they want to act, and trying to move the needle how they want to move, and all these other conferences are scrambling. They're not lockstep. I wonder what the conversation's like with their television partners, whether it's ABC, Fox, all these folks, right? So it's perplexing, the timing of it. Like, if there was an outbreak, right, or something, a compelling event that happened right away within practice, I understand. Like, I saw, my brother-in-law sent me some, hey, Louisiana Tech had 5 players test positive, now they got to shut down practices. It's all the stuff about UTEP. And we even see conferences, right, like the MAC conference. I understand the financials, right? Testing is expensive. The protocols, having all that stuff in place, is expensive. Those of you who know how much the cost is for Texas to even do what they're doing, they're spending as much money as a professional team at this point. So it's very, very interesting how to navigate between Division 3, Division 2, Group of 5, FCS, all these schools, and then the schools in the Power 5 that do have the money, do have the infrastructure in place to have some sort of a bubble effect, and let it happen. Now, my next question is this, and another thing I'm confused about, because this doesn't make sense, and that's why I think there's an agenda going on, is if kids are coming back on campus, that's not safe for the players either, right? Like, like Ohio State, I saw they have kids coming back on campus. Correct me if I'm wrong. Several of these large institutions are going to have kids come back on campus. Like, y'all knew that. So why not, like, and I don't even understand, like, why they don't have the ability to move things back or postpone if they even come out and say, hey, we still want to get more data on how the MLB is doing. We want to get more data about how the NFL kicks off. I believe we're like a month away from the first game with the Chiefs, right? Like, if we need more data, we'll push things back, and then we'll start the season like, the end of September, October, or the beginning of October, whatever we got to do. It's already condensed as it is. It doesn't make sense right now. So let me check out what everybody's saying in here, because sorry, I didn't see everybody's messages. Yeah, Cowboys, Longhorns, what's up, man? Crazy times, for sure. for sure. We all heard in the problems of the virus, you cannot risk people's lives. I look, I totally understand it, but I'm there's other sports that are happening right now safely with the measures that they do have. Like it's also, and if you're concerned, why not express that from jump? Because do I think that these schools have concern about player safety? Yes. Do I think they're more concerned about being liable for them? Yes. In terms of whether they get sued or somebody gets sick or what have you. Absolutely. I think that's a bigger factor than just them genuinely be concerned over player safety. Do I think some of these institutions have ulterior motives and agendas to see the system burn and to fast track realignment now, fast track whatever else they want to do to the sport? Do I think part of this is them getting upset of the players with demands, name, image, likeness, all the things that are going on in terms of, hey, let's use this as an opportunity to level up? I think all of that plays in, and that's why it's so nuanced, and that's part of my frustration on social media when people are so dismissive of what we're trying to talk about here about, on either side. It's a lot of extremism going on, but I don't want that to be the focus of this conversation. I'm just, you know, I agree, D'Angelo. It's hard to tell a kid at Ohio State that he can go to class, but he can't play football. They get paid, brother. I mean, yes and no, they get paid. So we've talked a lot about on the channel, and this was trans call. This was trans idea about, hey, why not, spring better move? Is the virus still going to be here in the spring? Yes. Are we going to have a vaccine for the virus? Probably not, right? But, in terms of the more data, the better. The more we can better navigate, what's going on, the better we can, come up with new protocols, see what worked from pro sports, see what didn't, and navigate this thing down the road. Even that now, hey, a lot of people have brought up today, I don't want to see the kids play 2 football seasons in 1 calendar year. That's not safe. The amount of people, the amount of attrition from teams that will go, in terms of the NFL and moving on. You have an issue with classes. Totally get that in terms of seniors from high school coming in and all this type of stuff. Totally get that. However, it's a better alternative than just throwing your hands up, canceling, and then nothing happens. Money's lost. Lives are impacted by this, and I'm not talking about coaches' salaries or anything like that. Now, even people in the media that cover this sport are going to be impacted by this. Whether you like some of these people or not, some of these people are going to lose jobs because they're not going to have if there's no season, what are they covering? What are they doing? Hey, somebody might get furloughed, what have you. That's it, right? We already have people in the media right now that are currently working only 2 weeks out of the month, right? Trying to give us the best coverage that they got in this situation. So that impact has already begun mightily, right? Folks down, when you talk about tailgating and all the things that are married to college football, all of that is impacted by this, let alone the mental health aspect of it all. Unfortunately, the way our country is set up, whether you like it or not, mental health, football, sports, it sounds ridiculous, but, hold on, my phone's getting hot, so I'm trying to, hopefully you guys can still see me. Let's get this AC up. Sorry, I got the phone, the hot phone warning. I'm trying to do this video on the road. Who benefits if college football is not playing? Nobody does. Not even the NFL. The NFL wants them to play, so they can get free scouting. All y'all, I mean, TV networks, everybody, nobody benefits if they don't play. I'm just trying to figure out what their agenda is, because that you know, when you study government or whatever, typically when things crumble, that gives somebody else opportunity to build something back up. So that's just my thinking. Again, I'm just speaking here as a fan, just like you guys are here in the chat, and it's, you know, oh, so Black Win, good point. You know, so said, hey, I had coworkers get sick from the virus, and as Joel started his video the other day, isn't this isn't anyone trying to, you know, diminish or lessen the virus, or the severity of it. I understand that the data around their particular age group. I understand the recovery rates, all of those things, death rates. We get how small it is in reference to the amount of cases. 150,000 dead is still 150,000 dead. I'm not trying to minimize that whatsoever. I actually know people who have lost parents and have lost folks, and you know, that's another reason why I agree they should have an opt-out clause. They should have the ability to, you know, if you don't feel comfortable, immune system wise, what have you, let's respect people's decisions. But unfortunately, that transparency is not being had with the players. They don't even have a seat at the table to even be a part of these conversations. You know, where's the feedback from the players about the mask that they have to wear, or the protocol, or any of these things? Like I said, they're already in practices right now. Why isn't anyone having a conversation with them about how it's already been, right? And all of those things. And that should be part of your data that you're gathering. And frankly, I'm not seeing that. So that's why I said on Twitter, it's a failure of the system as a whole. But we've always known the NCAA was bad. It's just that it's taken a global pandemic to truly expose how crappy this governing body is. All right, I'm trying to catch up with the comments here. I appreciate everybody jumping on short notice. I know everybody's been tracking the story. The NCAA doesn't want that liability. Hell no. Have the athletes sign waivers. Well, then that brings up more legal ramifications. And look, I see some folks in the comments saying "I told you so," and that, you know, I get it. Yeah, if you want to get the pat on the back for being right, sure. But I mean, that's part of my issue too. Is like, some people are more concerned about being first on something, because now some of these leaks and some of the information that's out there is a little frustrating, because it's like, you know, misinformation or rumors or things that may not necessarily be true, just trying to be first to something, when it's like, A, I want us to do things the right way. B, you know, what's practical for our kids. Like, to me, telling the kids that they can come back on campus and go to classes and be amongst the public and act like, you know, even with social distancing and all that, but that's not a bubble environment. But then saying that they can do that, but they can't play football, you're not worried about somebody's well-being. That's a contradictory stance, in my opinion. We know the kids definitely want to play. We know the kids want to play. And we, you know, Orlando said, I'm an ER nurse. Since this began, 0 coworkers have come down with the virus. My point, we can mitigate the spread of the virus when protocols are put in place and followed. You know, that's one of the other thing, you know, I think we need to continue to emphasize here is they are safe. I mean, the programs that are doing it right now, unless you just are like Colorado State and how they were running, you know, operating things. But most of these programs are doing it the right way, and it's just frustrating. If you have a full team, yeah, only 25% for fans, then things will definitely show where the priorities are. Priority is paramount in what's going on behind the scenes, behind the closed doors, with a lot of these presidents and whatnot. And it's just frustrating, man. It's just frustrating when they bring you down all the way to this point. I mean, we're supposed to have games this month. At the end of this month, some teams are starting to kick off, and they have all these kids practicing. They have all these protocols put into place and all the investments, and they just pull the rug from underneath you with no with. I mean, there eventually will be explanation. There has to be, but there's no transparency. There's nothing that led to this from where they were when they were releasing schedules, which fans hey, as fans, we adapted, we adjusted. Okay, cool. The schools that didn't have the financial structure in place to support it, hey, we understand it's tough. The players that want to opt out, hey, we understand it's tough. God bless you. But why now in the middle of August? Like it's and I get the liability aspect. Hey, if a player dies and all that. Hey, when Jordan McNair passed away at Maryland, and we pulled the cover back and saw what the practices were going on, strength and conditioning program in general under DJ Durkin. Um, those people will never be affiliated with college football again. What you're seeing with Steve Adazio at Colorado State, and what was alleged and what's been being reported there, it's probably not going to be involved with college football ever again. But those are individual cases in the NCAA or whatever party, or whether it's these conferences, have to make that investment if they want to do. Like was their intention ever to do this? That now I'm questioning that. Was their intention ever to have the season? Said the kid that ended up with the heart issue really fouled up their plans. Trant's been saying that for a while with in relationship to coaches, because we also have to take that into account. These staffs that have coaches that are older, medical staff that are older, all the people that are involved. But again, if kids in general are going to be on the campus, because the one thing we haven't seen right now is when all the campuses kids come back to school, right? And now it's like, all right, that strength and testing that the athletes have may not necessarily, or there's no way it can apply to 35,000 people on campus, right? So now we're no longer in a bubble. We can't control as much. Now we can still test every day, check for symptoms, all of that. But it is contradictory to say we're willing to take that risk, but we won't take the risk of uh, playing the games, right? Now, what does this fall look like? If we don't have football, but they're still on campus, I know my cousin plays JUCO. Um, they, I believe, are going to be doing scrimmages throughout the fall, and just internal scrimmages, still practicing with the hopes of trying to play in the spring. And he plays over at Navarro, so that's what he told me their game plan was. But overall, is that where we're headed? If because yeah, all these schools want to play, but you know, it's it's craziness. It's craziness, and I'm frustrated with. I've always like it's just come to a head with knowing the lack of leadership and the lack of transparency, and that you have players literally begging. I hate seeing that. I hate seeing these players beg, and I hate where we're at, where I have to do this right now as fans. So let me check in on the chat. I know I've been kind of talking. I appreciate you guys here just trying to. Somebody said, "Where do the kids go?" I mean, if they're, I mean, the schools that are going to be on campus, don't they have to stay? Are they going to work remotely? Like, this is what I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of kids that don't want to go back and to bad surroundings and all sorts of areas where even if they're doing everything the way they're supposed to be doing, all it takes is one bad day and they end up in trouble. I mean that's definitely a concern. Jared, what was your question? I didn't see it. Somebody said Miami's at practice right now. Yeah, Nebraska's at practice. Um, Several of these schools are practicing right now. As this news is breaking, now Nebraska's trying to fight that fight for their right to party. I respect it. Maybe we can just go ahead and reconvene in the Big 12. Y'all should have never left in the first place. You can bring Iowa with you too. Um, yeah, selfishly, I want to see the kids play. I'm a college football lifer fan, but I understand that lives come first, safety first. But if you have the protocol in place, you had time to plan. And that's another thing, right? College football, somebody asked me today, what should they have done? How about take this virus seriously back in March, right? Like, yeah, you guys canceled spring ball and all this type of stuff, but then the plan from there seemed for months to be, well, let's just wait for the thing to burn out, wait for the cases to go down, and then, this thing will be gone by the fall. How many people you hear say that? This thing will be gone by the fall, right? And then as things got closer and closer, it's like, oh, we got to take this seriously and come up with protocol and all these other measures. And, to the credit of the conferences and some of the individual schools, they have done a good job of I've seen parents even from Texas A&M saying, hey, their kids are better off there than they are at home with me, right? I have to go to work every day. What if I bring something back? Now, granted, I think more of the concern is if the players are carriers and bring something over to a loved one versus their own, where many of them are going to be asymptomatic, or but again, counterpoint, we don't know a whole lot about this virus. It hasn't been here very long, so the long-term ramifications, people that do develop heart issues or have issues breathing down the road, these are all things we have to be very, very sensitive of. But there's going to be, no matter what you do, playing football, not playing football, there's a lot of risk. And there's a lot of people that feel there's a greater risk to not playing, factoring in so much, than if you do play under restrictions and having safe protocol. Let me get caught up on the chat here. Definitely don't want to see another outbreak, Mr. Silva. I agree. Jared said if the Big 12, SEC, ACC say they are playing, recruits and current players start jumping ship from Big 10 and Pac-12, they will then be forced to play or risk destroying their programs. What do you mean recruits? Are you talking about like long-term, Jared, or guys hit portal? Conference realignment's happening. I mean, wake up and smell the roses, right? Now and in the future. I think, yeah, I mean, well, future, I think it'll be irrelevant because we're going to have realignment, and they're going to blow up the sport anyway. But kids in schools jumping ship, not everybody can jump ship. Like, for example, Texas, right? Yeah, there could be a couple guys we have that could jump in and help us. But right now, the coaches already kind of have an idea. Like right now, we're already going through installation. Right? Like we're putting on pads. How many people can just jump into the portal and come over here? Right? I have heard there will. So to Mark's point, I have heard, as of now, they're planning on playing high school football here in the state of Texas. They're planning on playing high school football in the state of Florida as of right now, August 10th. Now, we also have to mention, I don't know what the protocol is for testing or if they will be because if some of these colleges can't afford the testing and the protocols in place, then these high schools for damn sure, and maybe they may just be going rogue and going off of symptoms and that's it. So I don't know how that gets funded. Who's going to provide that? Do I believe some of the massive 6A schools in Texas can play ball to some degree in that from that standpoint, especially if much of the school is virtual learning? Because right now in high school they're in between selecting who's going to be virtual and who's going to be in the classroom, right? So and then practicing, before and after school, what have you. That's a whole nother avenue. But in terms of players, going back to Jared's point of players jumping from other conferences just to play over here, I think it's actually at this point more realistic that a school like Ohio State or Nebraska or whatever would try to form some semi-conference with the Big 12 and the SEC to get games in. I think that would be more realistic than individual players, because at this point, we're already too far gone. We're too far gone. It's August 10th. We're supposed to have games, I think August, 29, like at the end of the month. So let's see, rosters won't change. Yeah, the NCAA won't approve it either. That's a great point, Cook. Jeremy said, why can't we push the season to the start of November or have a winter season? Have everyone have a bye week during the holiday and New Year? That's another thing. In conjunction with my confusion on timing, and Mark, I saw your joke and I'm gonna say it in a second. In conjunction with the confusion on timing, I don't understand why we have to go outright cancel. Right? Like, they have people, like, outright cancel is just so dooming, right? Like, even myself, I could digest postpone personally. Like, when I'm reading something, whether it's a Yahoo update or on Twitter or whatever, I can digest postpone. I can digest, hey, we're gonna try to go after this in the spring and really try to get to this. But just outright cancellation and right after y'all drop schedules. Now Texas hasn't gotten theirs yet, but like Big Ten came out with schedule, Pac-12 came out with theirs. It's crazy. It's crazy. Braden, I agree. It is about liability. It is about liability. They don't get that. The where would y'all put the players if we put a list of priorities from the school presidents, the NCAA, everybody that's in the room? I'm talking about the people that are in the room. Where would y'all put the players, outright just player safety, concern for the players, player well-being on that list? Would it make the top 5 of their concerns? Y'all weigh in the chat. I'll wait. Would it make the top 5? Cook said dead last in concern. All right, Mark, here you go. We need all hands on deck, right? There you go. Dead last. This is y'all's opinion. Y'all are saying it. Nobody believe, like, there's nobody here. Look at this chat right now. No one believes that player safety is a legit, like, that's where they're at. Somebody said maybe top 25. Money is money is up there. That mean liability factor. I agree. CYA, for sure. Connor said somewhere in the middle. Many of you, we got, 7 straight nopes? Just flat out nope. It's not a priority. It's not a concern. and from what we get from the perception of things. They needed to have a sense of urgency several months ago. And again, like that's what I'm saying. Like the other thing too is like with the opt outs and the controversy over the waivers. How bad do y'all want to do this? Versus how bad are we trying to push an agenda to get something else accomplished? I appreciate everybody that's on here on the chat. We'll go a little bit longer. I was super busy today, but this is something that we had to address. Had to address it now, or else I'd be on tonight doing our normal live for a couple hours and just diving into it. Texas Horns was good. David said much more about liability. Easy to say money, but money is what fuels the machine we all like to watch. Absolutely, we need the money to fuel it for sure, and that goes into the TV contracts, merchandising, everything. The monster that is college football. Some people say, hey, avoiding player unionizing at all costs. How can a conference overrule the NCAA? They leave. They just leave. And that's what's going to happen. Big all these Power 5 schools, they're just going to leave. Start your own, and it may already be in the works right now. The players, the fact that there's no, like, that just goes to show that these committees, by the way, that they prop up there of player involvement or player reps is all BS, right? Because if those committees actually meant something where players have input and they could chime in on certain things, they would be on these Zoom calls or these meetings or these conference calls to share their insights and have a real part or piece of the discussion when it comes to matters that directly impact them. The fan thing, people talking about fans in the stands. At this point, I'm just talking about anything football, right? Like the fan thing. That's why when they came out with when UT said, Chris Del Conte 50%, you could hear the skepticism in my voice just because, I could see where they were headed there. But I was buying football in terms of, and I was wrong. I was wrong with the way things were playing out. But I was buying that we would see football because everything that they were doing and the adjustments that they were making, all indications pointed to us having football in the fall under these conditions, under these circumstances. If they start listening, they'll have to always listen. It shouldn't have waited till COVID to get some of this stuff done. For the players, though, the only reason why we're even at this point right now, and sometimes you just have to, and that's the other point with egos involved, and people just don't want to admit, hey, we took too long, we were asleep at the wheel here, but we're going to try to make things whole now, right? We're going to try to move forward and be better now, and this is the way things will be. But I agree, yeah, if you bring the players in the room, and I'm not talking about everybody, I'm talking about certain player representation, but so that they can report back to their school or their conference, what have you, and just be, provide that transparency. But instead, we're dealing with media leaks. We're dealing with op-ed pieces and all this type of stuff, and the fans are left out in the dark. The players are left out in the dark. And so now the players are trying to communicate to us and anybody that's willing to listen what is going on. We want to play. There is no leadership. There is no leadership. I think there's leadership at individual schools. I mean, I think the way Texas has navigated this offseason, I give them nothing but credit. between the virus and the protest and the demands and all that, I think they navigated it well. But overall, conferences, look at Bob Bowlesby. I mean, and how they move. I'm not trying to just sully somebody, but I mean, it's like Weekend at Bernie's over there, like Richardson tweeted the other day, how they move. I mean, the good thing is they haven't said no, so it's just like, yeah, what's the SEC doing? All right, cool. Stephen, what you're saying now is what everyone is dealing with. It's the political side of college football. It's cold, cutthroat, and now it's become further pushed into the light. I forgot what video I said this on. It's a good point. All COVID has done is expose everything in our society, in our personal lives, marriages, relationship with your kids, who's a good parent, who's not, what's a good school, what's not, school systems, political structure, public health structure. All COVID has done is expose what leagues care about their players, what leagues don't, who's an essential worker, your employers, those of you who work wherever you work. You've seen now how your company has chosen to respond. Everything has been exposed. For those of you who are not in a relationship or don't have kids and you're in isolation, just expose yourself to you, how you deal with that. And now we have to pick up the pieces. But for a lot of people too, I do worry about, folks all over the place, because college football, and it's not healthy. I'm not agreeing with this, but and fanaticism's not healthy, but that's where we're at, and I'm just open about it. College football is an escape. Sports is an escape. I get it. I always support players using their platform to do what they can, because we can do more than one thing at once. But a lot of football is an escape, and I do worry, especially heading into a wild election season that's about to start, where we're gonna, whether we vote in person, whether we vote through the system, it's, we're headed down, a path with no escape, and it's tough. It's tough. These kids, yeah, the guys that are the surefire. You've seen some of them make a decision and say, you know what, I'm gonna do what's right for me, start my training, get ready for the league. Kind of what Nick Bosa did a few years ago. I get that. Michael Parsons, all those guys. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the grander scheme of college football. We have guys on our team that are going to be seniors or older guys who, they probably won't be, NFL players, but I want to see them finish, right? We saw this happen with college baseball. Texas was on a roll for college baseball there for a little bit, and then, just when it's also like your individual school. It's like, damn, like this was supposed to be our year. Kind of moving on to Texas in particular, but shoot, man, we felt like we were gonna go to, like, when the LSU thing happened. And for those of y'all that joined on the live chat, I appreciate it when we had Billy on and everybody else, but we're like, damn, everything's lined up perfectly, just the way things lined up for LSU when they came here last year, and they still almost caught the L. But it's just like how we've gotten to this point where we got all this, we have everything we could possibly ask for, from the coaching staff being where we finally collectively feel it needed to be, the returning experience, the senior quarterback. We have a good kicker. Like we have like all of what you wanted to see, and it's just like, jeez. Brandon, we got, speaking of the live, Brandon, hey, Damon Demas, I feel bad for him too. I know he's an Aggie, but that brother's special. He might be the next AJ Green out there, and he's going to go almost 2 years without playing, possibly. But Brandon, you're absolutely right. I feel bad. UIL took his senior year. You're absolutely right. They took his senior year, but now they about to they about to get some of these games in, no matter by any means. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, for the people putting money on Sam Mellinger to win the high, like all the things that we've. It just sucks. No matter what side of the aisle you're on or what team you support, this stuff just sucks. They gotta honor people's eligibility. If you didn't play, do you? Let me ask you guys this: do you think that's why? Because we've had now Myron Warren, for those who don't know, from a Texas standpoint, came back out of the portal. So he's now back. Texas is, somebody tweeted this today. Texas's portal defense is unbelievable. Do you think that's also just factoring into what's going on with, from a standpoint of, hey, we feel like there's no season, things are going to get canceled, so I might as well just come here, get my classes in, and I can be either a grad transfer or whatever later on and still get a degree from Texas. I think that could be a component to this, where guys are just like, what's the point of transferring if we're not playing right now? I think some of that may weigh into some of the decision making, but not because I agree, Tracy. Myron wasn't probably going to play, and the freshman probably already passed him. But then he's back out of the portal and back at Texas. So what went into that decision? I have to believe somebody got in his ear and was just like, "There's no point in leaving right now, brother." Now I think when college football really returns, that transfer portal is going to be ridiculous. Because that's another thing that's been getting exposed is coaching staffs, right? We talked about Colorado State earlier, Washington State, like some of these schools where it's just like, yo, in a time of crisis, Billy talked about this on the live chat. These coaches that go in these young men's homes and say, hey, I'm going to take care of your son for the next 3 to 4 years. And we're going to love on you, and this is what we're going to promise as a solution, and for him getting his degree, and if he's at that level, we'll get him to where he needs to be. He's in trusted hands. Some of those coaches have been exposed in a negative light. Some of those coaches have shined through this, and it's like, wow, he really does care about the kids, or he's doing things the right way, and you remain out of the limelight. I have not gotten an update on Tony Fields. If somebody has that one, I'm not sure. I've been so inundated with this, I completely forgot about it. Sounded like it was between us and West Virginia. It could be wrong on that. So if anybody knows the latest on Tony Fields, the young linebacker from Arizona, who would fill a position of need for us. Very, very talented, but it's tough. I'm gonna go on for a couple more minutes here. Anything else you guys want to touch on? Just yes or no? Are we having a season right now? I'm gonna say no. From what I'm seeing, I would like to. I hope I'm wrong. I was wrong about us having a season. I thought we were headed the right way. Fields is committing tomorrow, according to Twitter. Appreciate it. I don't know why I thought it was today. Okay. JS, what's good, man? The unbelievable ignorance, anti-intellectual. You know what, too? I will say this. We have these people. We talk about education and listening to the right people. We've got to find people that do agree with our narrative and what we want, and that goes into football and the decisions that are being made and whatever science people these schools are listening to. Totally agree with that. But when it comes to this virus and the impacts and all those type of things, yeah, I can look at the data and the numbers, and we all can see that. But I'm not in the medical community. I'm not qualified. I did not go to school for that. I have not studied, epidemiology or, any of these things. Right now, our leadership, they have a council for a reason. They have experts for a reason. They have teams for a reason. And we haven't operated as a team collectively in terms of our society and whatnot. We have, somebody over here doing this or somebody over here doing that. And then you add people's agendas to the mix. And we have the mess that we're in now. And even with right now, Major League Baseball, things have quieted down a little bit. I know they had the little brawl yesterday with I wouldn't even necessarily call that a brawl with the Astros and A's, but Major League Baseball, they were in trouble, and then things kind of eased down. It's a professional sport, I get it, and they don't have fans there. But at this point, I think we can all acknowledge that amateurism is that's done. But if we could just be real, everybody still get their money, and we move on, then yeah, I see people weighing in with some of the experiences they've had. As we leave the chat, make sure you hit that like button. For those of you who haven't gotten a chance to do it yet. Yeah, Deshaun Jameson, I saw that today on Twitter. He said this was our year. It's sad. It's sad, man. And you look at our guys, I say our guys, every fan, no matter who's in here, if you're an OU fan, I'm sure you feel the same way when you follow your team's content. They've been busting their asses. I get it. And it's like, yo, what was the point of not the point of us working? Like, you should always be working at your craft. If that's your God-given gift, I get all that. But like, y'all put us in this environment, and you're telling the so-called adults in the room are moving us in a certain direction, but then you don't want to provide direction. You're moving us in a direction, but you don't want to provide direction. Hopefully that makes sense to y'all, because it's perplexing to me, and I've been saying that because I don't understand this timing and how everything has unfolded here. I really, really don't. I love you guys. At least we could, mull on this together and talk, and speak on this. But in the grand scheme of things, players, they're not high on the priority list of overall well-being. Look no further than the fact that they weren't in the room. Whether it was Zoom meet, whatever, they were not in the room. They were not consulted. Just is what it is. I am disappointed, Mark. And I'm not, again, I'm not, look, I'm a fanatic and all that type of stuff. I can still move on my life. I'm not going to go into this deep, dark depression if there's no football. I'm just saying, yeah, I want football, and we can live, and especially in the middle of a pandemic, it's totally understandable. But don't lead us astray. Don't lead us down the path of we're going to go this direction. Everything looks good, blah, blah, blah. And then give us no transparency, and you pull the plug on everything. After so many of these schools have made the investment in trying to do everything correct possible. And if you are depressed, be real about it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be depressed. And if I came off that way, I apologize. There's people that need this. And it's not just my chance. Now, yeah, I was just getting to that. We're gonna have to rewatch games on YouTube now. That's what it's gonna be. Yeah, and they did try. I agree. in terms of individuals involved. But as a collective, the NCAA infrastructure, terrible job here, in my opinion. If you're here to defend them and say, hey, they did everything they could, God bless you, please make your argument. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. But yeah, I'm disappointed. And it's, you know, I already threw that idea out there too. And, you know, and I was starting to get excited, and I was working on putting together the round table and doing all these things. But yeah, we will have to get to rewatching old games. Get to it. I'm with you, Tracy. Postpone, but you know, we didn't put the work in when we needed to. We didn't put the work in when we thought the virus was going to burn out. And I'm not saying we as fans, we're not in the room either. I'm talking about as a collective or a community. That's what I'm talking about. Someone said, how can someone be a part of that round table? Hit me, my contact information, I'll put it in the description after. You know, those guys are close personal friends of mine, but you know, if I connect with you and we have a good vibe, you know, individually, and we want to talk on and do a video together, I'm for it. I'm open to it. We got to create content somehow now, right? Like, and there will be more lives this week because that I do, because we don't have all the news yet, and things are, you know, things are more fluid now than they ever were before. Go 2 more minutes here. But reach out to me personally. I always try to put all my social media out there. No, the plan the plan was just to wait until, no, Tom Herman right now, his situation will not change, Mark. Not until we see football. If anything, he's kind of strengthened his with how he handled things. He's okay. Now, if they come out there and they you know, Chris Ash turns into Todd Orlando and they start blitzing from Utah, then we have another issue. Peter Lyons said something earlier about society and whatnot. No, I mean, yeah, to a degree, we all have to own that aspect of it on a grander scale, and I do agree with that. You know, when we have people arguing about whether or not to wear a mask, when we have people arguing about whether or not the virus itself is just a hoax in general, well, that's problematic. And, you know, when you have enough of that community and people start to get impacted, you know, am I saying that was the sole net of the result? No, but you know, every little bit plays a role. Omega Ultra, appreciate the donation, and I said the same thing earlier. I said the same thing earlier about who was that? I was trying to respond to his chat, the super chat, about players being on campus. It just contradicts itself. I don't want to hear anything about Rutgers with Chris Ash. I just want to see what he did. As long as he does what he did at Ohio State and Wisconsin, I'm cool with that. I know you didn't have horses at Rutgers, but a lot of coaches haven't had horses at Rutgers and did better than he did at Rutgers. And that was as a head coach. I've made my peace with that. We will move forward. Oh no, LSU no doubt escaped an ass whooping. Y'all can quote me on that, LSU fans. And you know what? There's no way to shut them up because we'll never play, and they're going to sit up here and tell you that Miles Brennan is going to be the Lord Savior and everything else. And they would have done it again, and we've never been to a place like Death Valley. Woo, woo, woo. But no, all we can do is what the community has been doing, the college football community, raising your voices on social media, and just supporting the players. That's all we can do. What else you want? I mean, what else? What else can we do collectively? Man, y'all stuck with me through this because this was hard. I didn't want to. I didn't like. I'm one of those people when we take an L like this. Like even today on Twitter, I was just like, Kirk Bowles made a joke, and then I just went over my head because I'm just pissed off, and I'm like, yo, forgive me, y'all forgive me right now. I don't have the answers. I'm just going through it the way we all are. And this is just for college football. Look, if you don't understand that I how much in serious I've taken this virus in myself, canceling vacation, staying away, wearing my mask, distancing. I go to work out a little bit. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. You may see me walking around here and there, but anywhere I go, I distance. I'm not out here just moving around. And I've been blessed enough to work at a job in a company where I'm remote. And I was pretty much already remote before, but it's tough. It's tough. And I know a lot of y'all are feeling it too. Ryan, I thank you for being there with me, and I'm with you, brother. It's tough. But we're gonna get through it together one way, one how. Even if we gotta sit here and watch old games together, just reminisce. The good, bad, and the horns. So I love y'all. I'm getting ready to sign off. I'm like in between cities right now. So in terms of, parents-in-law and just, kind of the two places my wife and I have been kind of just working out of. So when this stuff popped up, I'm not even in my office with my things and just kind of just brought mobile gear to react if stuff popped up. And here we are, stuff popped up. So, I'm gonna get on the horn with Tran here in a bit, and we'll get his thoughts too. And I want to have a day where I just digest this so we can either make another video or just respond outright with what's going on. Yeah, I love you too. He said, "Go Tigers." Love you too. Oh yeah, there's more stuff is gonna pop off. So we'll just have to react and respond as is. But right now, everything's canceled. They're heading that way. In the Big 10, Big 12, what are we gonna do? SEC, what are they gonna do? We shall see. But guys, God bless y'all. Horns always up and cutting the chat off.